Hi, my name is Grace Lang with DDSAnalytics, and I'm here today to talk about the employee attrition analysis we ran for Frito-Lay's proof of concept. The purpose of this analysis is to build a model that helps predict attrition for employees, reveal the top 3 factors that lead to attrition, while understanding some common trends of employees who decide to leave the company. Whenever we received the data, we saw that Frito-Lay currently has an attrition rate around 16%, which is great considering a 2016 compensation factor study that had the industry as an average as 17.8%. Only being 2 percentage points lower is great news for Frito-Lay. However, there's always room for improvement, especially with employee churn that can be very costly. The dataset we received had about 870 employees included in the dataset and had a departmental mix of human resources, research and development, and sales, which is actually one of the data highlights that we called out for a risk. It was a small dataset for a company as large as Frito-Lay, and not all of the departments were represented within the data. So that's something we'd really like to revisit if we get the chance. I'll walk you through the methodology really quickly. We didn't have to do much data cleaning considering the data we received was quite in good condition. We only removed a few static variables that did not contribute to the analysis. We utilized RStudio and R Markdown for our code documentation. I'll walk you through the data exploration findings that we did and the 3 models we used to find our best predictors. Your team has actually already received our prediction file, and we look forward to hearing how we match up against our competitors. First and foremost, we looked at the attrition by total working years, and what we saw is that under 10 years of being in the workforce, they had higher attrition rates. So understanding that, are these greener employees looking for promotions? But what we saw was not necessarily the case. Attrition rates didn't differ by promotion time, and it ranged from about 12 to 18%, which wasn't really something significant. But we also wanted to see, are lower job levels more likely to churn? And what we saw is yes, that is the case, especially for job level 1. So understanding maybe those entry-level jobs, are they more seasonal? Things like that that might contribute to churn that might not necessarily be within the data. We also wanted to see if over time employees were more likely to leave, and yes, they are. Those that have overtime had 32% attrition rate versus 10% attrition rate. So we wanted to understand what roles made up of those overtime employees. And what we saw was that research scientist, sales executive, lab technician, and sales rep were among the top 4 that had the highest churn that also had overtime. So looking in those R&D and sales departments and understanding what type of working environment might happen that may make those employees leave the company more regularly. We also wanted to see if salary contributed to employee turnover, and as you can see, yes, it does. The lower monthly incomes had higher attrition rates, so if you're not paying, then you're not staying. Just looking at the total variables that contribute to turnover, you can see the top 3 is overtime, monthly income, and total working years. And you can also see that year since last promotion is towards the bottom. So understanding how those rank up against each other in turnover. And next, we wanted to talk about what models we use to best predict attrition for Frito-Lay. First and foremost, we started with a random forest. However, we did not choose this. It only had an 89% accuracy. A random forest is a great classifier model that builds out multiple decision trees and then bases those on the variables and predicts which one will be the best fit for the model. However, this one wasn't for us. We also did a linear model. This one, even though it had a 90% accuracy, these are a little bit better for continuous variable models. So while we have a binary report variable, so yes or no on whether or not they did attrition, the linear model couldn't do very well in predicting the specificity. The model we went towards was a support vector machine model, and even though it had an 88% accuracy, the sensitivity and specificity were quite high, which we liked. And the support vector machine model is a model that finds the optimal hyperplane between binary variables and then uses that hyperplane in order to classify the inputs. So it's really great for an attrition, which is like a yes or no. And finally, employees who work overtime may be in a lower job level and have not been in the workforce for very long, maybe a subsegment of employees to help coach and revisit within their working environment, potentially creating a plan here. We utilize a support vector machine model for Frito-Lay's employee attrition. The next steps is we'd love to rerun the model with a comprehensive department data set. We'd love to revisit the model after 3 additional months of data so that we can make sure that the model hasn't degraded. And also, finally, we'd love to layer in some exit interviews for employees and find any common trend there. Was overtime playing a role? Was it scheduled, unscheduled overtime? That kind of thing. So that's it for me. If you let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.